Hello, wonderful people. My name is Jessica, aka the Sacred Rebel. This podcast is dedicated to all the other sacred rebels out there, sacred women, and all of the above that are in need of a guiding light in their waking life and spirituality. This podcast will feature talks on spirituality, being a woman, traumas, self-development, meditations, as well as self-healing and all of the above. It is with love and compassion that I gift this podcast to the rest of the world, as it was never presented to me growing up. And it is my hope that this podcast will be the seed that is planted in someone else to basically be motivated to create a change within themselves that can be the change for the rest of the world. So kick back, relax, grab a cup of tea, and enjoy. Much love. Hello and welcome back to another episode. This episode is going to be just as special as the rest. And this episode definitely hits like a little soft spot in my heart. I will also have this episode shared in my group that I made over the weekend for women. I created a group called the Soft Femme, the Soft Femme Lifestyle, and this is a group for creative women to come together to work on creating a better money mindset through personal development. And I will talk about the group in like a little bonus episode next time to give a bit more of a in-depth detail. But this episode is going to be part of the things that I will be discussing in the group often as I teach these lovely, beautiful women different things over the next couple of weeks. Now, I want to talk about imposter syndrome. So, for those who don't know what imposter syndrome is, it is the belief that the things that you have done and achieved are just not real to you. It just doesn't feel right, and you don't believe that you deserve the achievements, the accolades. You deny them. And it runs rampant. Sometimes people can't believe that they got the best grade in school on a test, or they're good enough for a relationship, or they're good enough for a job position. And this is often a self-sabotaging type of trait that actually, I'm not even going to call it a trait. I'm just going to call it a disease, because it is a disease that runs rampant throughout this society. Everybody's gone through it. I've even gone through a form of imposter syndrome before, and sometimes I still go through it. And this is something that keeps us from growing and achieving things, because I understand that we should have a sense of humility in order for our ego to not run rampant and, take over the vehicle and drive us off the road. But we also shouldn't have the sense of humility to the point where we can't, accept the praise when praise is due. And it's okay to accept, some forms of can't talk again. It's okay for us to accept some forms of validation and get your accolades in. It's okay. Now, there's different types of imposter syndrome as well. You probably could identify with one or two of these, of all of them. I only will speak on a few of them. Now, the first type of imposter syndrome is when somebody is being a perfectionist. If it's not perfect, it's shit. And then if you try to tell a perfectionist that you didn't like something that they did, they will either just be angry and not hear you, or they will collapse within themselves. Like I'm talking about, like imploding. And they'll think that they have completely failed and they're ready to like completely rip apart a lot of things because of one comment. So they are scared of losing that control, losing that love. Now, the next version is being that one go-to person that does everything. I mean, the type of person that will help you no matter what. And it doesn't matter how big of a task is or how small, they are willing to help you. And if you're not helping someone, they feel inadequate. And even if they don't want to help someone, and even if they know that this could like hurt them, they'll still try to help because they don't want to seem incompetent. I've met a woman who I did a tarot reading for before, and she was explaining to me she loves to help people. She loves it. And then she told me about a friend that takes advantage of her by asking her to do all these things, drop what she's doing, give him rides everywhere. And this friend never reciprocates, like, a favor back or give gas money. She just burns up all the gas. And this woman said that at one time she didn't have enough gas to get to work. And I asked her, how come you can't say no? And she said, well, I do love helping, but I just, you know. And I asked her, do you love helping this person or are you just scared to say no? And she went silent. And sometimes they have a hard time trying to say no. No, I'm sorry, but I'm doing this. No, I'm sorry, I can't help you with this again. They're scared to say no, and they feel like if they do say no, the whole world is going to explode and the universe will basically get sucked into a black hole and that's it. And then you have the type of imposter syndrome where they're a natural at something. Maybe it's academics or athletics, or maybe it's something that they're really well versed in what they do and they're so used to getting praise and used to basically getting something on the first try. And if you do tell them that they are wrong, they will have a whole conniption. I'm telling you, they will have a whole error 404. Their brains will shut down, and then it's hard for them to like adjust to things, especially if it is constructive criticism. A great example of this type of imposter syndrome type is Teal Swan. I've watched the documentary about her called Deep End. It's on both Hulu and Prime. Now, this is based off what was in the episode that I saw, what I watched. This is not something that I'm just pulling out of my ass because I'm not sure if any one of you guys are Teal Swan fans. And again, this is not me coming at her hard, but there was an episode where there was this girl who was going through major shifts in her life and she was very depressed and suicidal. And so she's been working with Teal, like doing like the workshops and stuff for many, many years. And she said that she feels much worse now than she did back then. And she met Teal in like a open forum. It was like a little like meet and greet. And she mentioned about all the stuff that she did according to what Teal told her to do. And Teal was smiling and she was saying, oh yes, it's working and I'm glad that you did this, blah, blah, blah. And the girl looked at her, and this is not word from word, just so you know. I haven't seen this documentary for like a long time. But the girl did look at Teal and told her, I'm suffering. And Teal couldn't, she couldn't, take that pill and swallow it. It was like she didn't understand this young woman, as if she was speaking, like, Greek to her. She told Teal, like, I am suffering and I feel like I wish to die and kill myself. I am worse now than I was before. And there was a part in the episode where Teal is behind stage and she's spazzing out at the fact that this girl is not quote unquote healed, and that it could look bad on her if she does something to herself. And I will admit, when I was watching that whole scene, I could understand you might be scared about something, but priorities. I think if someone told me that nothing that I've said helped them out and they want to kill themselves, I'm not going to be thinking about my own public image. I'm going to be thinking about, okay, well, let's sit together and let's figure something out, because maybe you need a bit more of professional help than what I can offer you. And we can both look up some professionals together. Let's do that. And I do feel like Teal fumbled the ball. Well, she fumbled several balls, but that's for a different episode. But yeah, she is a natural at what she does. But when it comes to like constructive criticism, or when someone is telling her that I am still not functioning right, even though I did everything that you said, if it's not like happiness, it's not computing. And quite honestly, that's how a lot of spiritual people in this community act, is that if you're not healed after their magic session, they just chalk it up as you didn't do the work, and that they will kindly excommunicate you from their space and disconnect from you. And that's not community. That's just you are not owing up to the fact that this person said that the help that you gave them did not work and you can't take it. And then there's the type of imposter syndrome where someone is afraid to ask for help, ask for more. They rather cut their limbs off before they ask for anything, because they don't want to seem like a bother. They don't want to feel like a failure. It's very vulnerable and shameful for them to ask for help. So they rather take like 57 years to do one task than to ask a person, and this task will take like 2 seconds. They carry a lot of shame in it. Well, yeah, there's other different like types of imposter syndrome out there. Like there's different versions that I can always go over in like different posts. But all of these are very, very self-sabotaging. They're all self-sabotaging, and this comes from like different factors, especially how we were raised in our lives, because it is a type of like a cognitive dissonance. It's like we're disassociating from our true selves because we want to overperform for other people. We want to feel love and praise for what we do, but at the same time, it's burning us out and it's killing us. And again, this can happen. The reason why this happens, it could be from childhood, how we were raised in our family. Maybe mom and dad played favorites. Maybe you weren't like exactly like the golden child, and your older sibling is the golden child. Whenever you like failed the test in school, and you came back home with a grade less than what was expected by your parents, and then your parents tell you, hey, why is it that you got this grade? You're supposed to get 100. You know this stuff. And they can't seem to like fathom that you either got like an 82 on your exam or you failed it. Maybe instead of just sitting there and be like, oh, you know this, maybe sit down and be like, okay, let's go over this test again. Let's go over it together. Let's see what you missed. And then there's like, societal pressures, like socially, especially trying to fit in schools and in your community so you won't feel lonely. And there are still people, even though they're within a community, that still feel lonely because everybody has like this low key expectation how the next person should act. And they don't know how to accept when someone doesn't act just like them. And so that's why a lot of people hide their true selves, because it's that fear of being seen, that fear of having that spotlight on them that makes them like get red in the face with shame and embarrassment, and their palms get sweaty, and they're just like, they don't want to be excluded. They're scared to be excluded. And this causes like depression and anxiety. This definitely causes depression and anxiety, and it happens more in women than men. Not to say that men don't go through this. It's just say we ladies, I will admit, we are catty bitches that if one girl did not like you, if she was cool enough, she can get like half of the goddamn like group to not like you either, because everybody wants to just fit in. So we just gonna not like you for whatever reason that she deems it, even if the issue did not happen to us. And I find that shitty. And like how the system is with like school and stuff like that, like with this grading system, it's nerve-wracking. I remember growing up and I didn't get a good grade in math, and I felt like that like life was over. I failed. I'm never going to go get in a good school or have a good job or live a great life. It's these pressures that they put on you to like perform high. And the school that I went to, it was a technical high school. It was one of the best high schools in the city, and it was pressure because we were encouraged to try to score high so we can get like accreditation or some shit like that. And I feel like that's a lot to put on like kids. That's a lot to put on kids, on top of like our parents putting their inadequacies onto us. And it creates like this world of self-doubt, and it creates like identity crisis, and it sucks. I'll admit it sucks, and I know that I've gone through like several forms of imposter syndrome, and probably will go through several forms of it in the future. But I do know one thing: as long as I come back to center, I know who I am, and that's it. I love what I do. And I will talk about how to combat imposter syndrome in a different episode. So consider this a part one. This will be imposter syndrome part one. The next one will be how to battle it, because there are so many creative people out here that are so gifted and smart, and it's because of imposter syndrome that dreams start to fade. Dreams start to get put up on a shelf and never to be looked at again, because they believe they don't deserve a good life or the praise or the accolades or the rewards. And that comes from like learning to like how to receive. A lot of us don't know how to receive pretty well. That is it that for this episode. Hopefully that shines some light on what imposter syndrome is, and I'll see you next time. Bye.